Welcome back to the Comics Cube, everyone. Today we're talking and reacting to the news that the Fantastic Four has been greenlit for an MCU movie. And if in case, and I'm joined by Peter and Paul. So clearly, this is a very religious conversation. No, I'm kidding. All right, guys.
Praise the Lord.
For anyone who's not familiar with the Fantastic Four, if you've been living under a rock, I'm just going to say a quick thing that sums up who they are. On an outer space adventure, they got hit by cosmic rays, and the Four would change forever in some fantastic ways. No need to fear, they're here. Just call for four. Fantastic Four. Reed Richards is elastic. Sue can fade from sight. Johnny is the Human Torch. The Thing just loves to fight. Call for four. Fantastic Four. Do you know where that's from?
Oh, yes.
No, I don't.
Paul, would you like to tell Peter where that's from?
It's from the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon
Oh,
that
okay.
that isn't very good.
It's
This is the
legitimate.
one with Herbie?
No, that's the one from the 70s.
Yeah, no, this one's even worse than that. It's I think though you should do the Human Torch rap from that series.
I don't have that up. Maybe
No,
you should do it, Paul. You want to do
No,
it?
I don't have it off by heart, unfortunately.
It is in the running for one of the worst Marvel anything of all time. That Fantastic Four, a 1990 series. But having said that, the Fantastic Four has a history of not very good adaptations, and hopefully we're finally going to get a really good one. You two are the biggest Fantastic Four fans I know. Why do you love the Fantastic Four? Peter, since this is your first episode, let's start with you.
Okay, well, what's not to like? It's a brilliant scientist, the woman he loves, his best friend, and her fiery tempered kid brother. Exploring all over the Marvel Universe, multiverse. And, I'll admit there's a lot of nostalgia plays a big factor in it for me. Growing up in a small town, you read whatever comic was available in the newsstands, and just so happened to have a lot of Fantastic Four comics. I'm sure if I revisit a lot of those stories, they won't hold up for me. But when I got back into reading comics recently, maybe 10 years ago, I looked up newer Fantastic Four comics. They're still good. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's mainly, I admit, mainly nostalgia, but even the newer ones, I find liking. I still like the new ones.
What run are you talking about? Like, what were the runs when you were growing up?
Well, when I got back, when I was young, of course, it was only Stan and Jack.
Really?
That's all that we got when I was younger. Yeah. Obviously Galactus, Inhumans.
Stuff gets to the Philippines late.
Yeah. Puppet Master stuff, Agatha Harkness. But when I got back into reading comics again about 10 years ago, I looked up Wade Wieringa run and then the Hickman run, and I realized these are still characters I like. This is still a kind of a comic that I like. I don't know if I can really put it into words. But yeah.
It really speaks to you, Paul.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, same. Really speak to me as well. It's just like recently I've I've been doing, because of lockdown, I've been doing like lots of binges of TV shows. And one of the first TV shows I binged was, I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. one of the first TV shows I binged was Star Trek Voyager. And it's since become like my favorite Star Trek show. And like people are like, oh, you know, Voyager's, you know, not the best one. Why do you like that? But I absolutely love Voyager.
It's the same for me.
Yeah. And I know, like, you know, some of the scripts are ropey and all that compared to something like Deep Space Nine, which is objectively top quality, you know. But the thing about Voyager is I just love hanging around with those people. You know, I just really became invested in their lives, and I just enjoyed their company more so than any of the other Trek shows. And so even if it was a bad script, I just loved hanging around them. And it's exactly the same with the Fantastic Four. See, I told you I was going somewhere.
I trust you. We've done enough of these.
But no, I just love being in their company. Reed, Sue, Ben, Johnny. It could be like an absolutely terrible story, and there are many of them. As, you know, there are many amazing ones, but there are many terrible ones too. But I can read them because I just love being around them. Even when they're arguing and they're bickering or they're about to die, you know, I just love being there with them. And I guess it comes from that sort of sense of family and the sense of knowing them, warts and all, in that way that Stanley was very good at doing with these characters. And the first Fantastic Four stories I ever read, there was an annual from the 60s that used to be my father's, and it sort of got passed down to me. And it had reprints of some Stan and Jack stories, and it was the story where they're in Wakanda playing baseball with the Black Panther, which is obviously... And so my first introduction ever to the Fantastic Four was them just hanging around playing baseball. But obviously, because it's the Fantastic Four, it's baseball in a super advanced African nation with a king, you know?
Yeah.
Just some family hanging around playing baseball. And then, of course, you've got that they had the story where Wyatt Wingfoot and Johnny are going around in that big bubble looking for a way to get Crystal out of the domed city of the Inhumans. And they come across Prester John and the Evil Eye, you know, and I just see, oh, whoa, this seems so, and you know, that is pure Kirby, isn't it?
You know, the incredible thing about you mentioning that is that's not even one of the strongest Fantastic Four issues that Lee and Kirby did.
No.
And that's strong enough is what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And like, wow, this is like mythic, you know? And you could build, and I thought like Prester John would be a character that would be popping up all the time, you know?
No, it never showed up again. Did he?
He never showed up again. You know, they're just tossing them out, you know? These just amazing concepts. And then I think the final story...
I'll be the nerd here and say that he shows up in Defenders.
Oh, really? He shows up in Defenders.
Shows up in Matt Fraction's Defenders.
Oh,
so,
cool.
like 40 years later.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look
anyway,
for
sorry,
that.
go on.
He shows up in Defenders.
Someone's
Fraction's enough of a fan to finally bring him back.
Anyway, sorry, Bob.
The final story in the book was Sue fighting Claw on her own. So that was just like a really cool introduction to how great Sue is, even though it was a Stan and Jack story where generally she was portrayed in a bit of a dated fashion, shall we say, you know? But even in that context, she shone in that particular story. And
the controversy with Stan and Jack Sue is that Jack drew her one way and Stan dialogued her another way.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of...
But
yeah, it's true.
What can you do?
And then like the Hanna-Barbera cartoon used to be on at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning on Channel 4.
Where Galactus was green for some reason.
Yes. And I didn't have an alarm clock, so I used to sort of wake myself up by sheer force of will to watch it. And I used to, and they'd alternate it from month to month between that and that really terrible Batman Filmation cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, which wasn't very good, but it had Batman in it. But the Hanna-Barbera Fantastic Four one was quite good. And I used to wake up every Saturday morning to watch it because I loved it so much. So that was my introduction to the Fantastic Four. And ever since then, I've just felt this sort of family connection to them. I just love being around them.
I don't know what my introduction to the Fantastic Four was. There was definitely a cartoon when I was young, but because the way it was in the Philippines is that you didn't necessarily get the latest cartoons at the time. You were getting delays. So even in the 90s, when that terrible Marvel Action Hour cartoon was out, so was the one Hanna-Barbera one. And so was the one with Herbie. So I was seeing all three of them in the 90s, and I think it says a lot about the Marvel Action Hour one that is still the worst one out of the three, despite being the most recent one. The new one that should have appealed to me, because I was a perfect age for it, and it even back then I was like, this is clearly the one I want to watch the least. But I don't know what my introduction was. But here's the thing: do you know what my first ever comic that I collected was? It was the Silver Surfer. And because I have an older brother, so he just passed down, whatever comics he got, I read. So I don't know what Marvel stuff I read, what Fantastic Four stuff I read, but I know I saw the Infinity Gauntlet, and because of that, I saw the Silver Surfer, and I started buying the Silver Surfer. And you go back to the history of the Silver Surfer, and there's of course, if you're going to go back to the history of the Silver Surfer, you're going to run into the Fantastic Four. They released like a very, very tiny trade of his first appearance, because the thing was Surfer shows up midway through Fantastic Four number 48. So it's one of those things. It's also really weird how those issues those Kirby and Lee issues, they just ended in the middle, and then they started a new storyline in the middle of the issue. So it's really weird, because I was like, there's no way this is 3 issues long, because it's like this thin. And that's because it started midway through number 48, and it ends midway through number 50.
Yeah.
But then I got that, and I just remember back then thinking, my God, this is some ugly art, because Jack Kirby, I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't stop rereading it. There was such a power to the way that they did it. And it was amazing. And then coincidentally, soon after that, my mom gifted me with that Marvel 50 Years book. You know the one I'm talking about? It's like a big giant book, like Marvel 5 Fabulous Decades of the World's Greatest Comics. And in the back is a reprint of Fantastic Four number 51. So it comes directly after the Silver Surfer storyline. It's This Man, This Monster.
Oh.
So between the Galactus saga and This Man, This Monster, I feel like my young brain couldn't put it into words, but I feel like that's when I started to understand Stan and Jack and the Fantastic Four. And I don't have the connection to the Fantastic Four characters that you guys have. But the one thing that I always said was the thing that I missed the most about having the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is I wish they had that whole world, the villains, the zones, the negative zone, and all of the supporting cast, and yeah, like, who's your favorite Fantastic Four member? Paul, I assume it's Ben Grimm.
Actually, it's not. Yeah.
You have an action figure.
I do. Yeah, it was a gift, actually. And I do love Ben. Ben is absolutely amazing. But my favorite Fantastic Four character is actually Reed. I absolutely love Reed because I think
Peter
weird.
has the same reaction.
Oh, I'm kind of like, it's a bit sick, really. I'm kind of drawn to these sort of father figures in comics and these older brother figures. I don't know why, but I don't know what it says about me psychologically. But I'm kind of drawn to these sort of flawed father figures, you know? And
That means you want to be a father figure.
or I don't know,
I don't know.
want looking after by some weird kind of patrician figure. I don't like, you know, who knows, man? Write in the comments, what is up with Paul?
Why am I this way?
I have to add this to my Paul compilation video. You think I won't do it, Paul? You think I won't do it? I totally will.
The greatest hits. Yeah, so I am drawn to these weird sort of older brother father figures, you know, like Doctor Who and Superman and Tony Stark and Reed Richards, you know. And Reed Richards is probably the most flawed out of them all, and I think that's what makes him one of the most interesting characters, because he's like he's one bad day from being a supervillain, you know. That's all it would take, because he's so, and through no fault of his own, it's just his curiosity automatically kind of detaches him from humanity, because that's the sort of form his curiosity takes. He gets quite obsessive about, well, he gets very obsessive about stuff, and he needs someone to pull him back, and that's what his family does for him. And I love the idea that, like, all the other Reed Richards in Jonathan Hickman's Council of Reeds, you know, they didn't have their father at the start, and they didn't have as much. They didn't have their family with them, and it was the family that kept Reed from going full evil, like all the other Council of Reeds. I think there's something really beautiful about that. The most intelligent man on earth, and the only thing connecting him with his humanity is his family. And there's something about the way that he's the most dignified character. He's smoking a pipe. He's got these grey sideburns. He's always in a lab coat, but he's got one of the most goofy looking powers out of the four of them.
Yeah.
Like, you know? I love that kind of contrast, you know. And it's almost like his powers are like an incidental thing. Like, he would be leader of the Fantastic Four even without his powers, because he's so intelligent. But also he's got these really goofy he just so happens to have these really goofy powers as well.
He's not the kind of person you'd expect to have stretchy powers.
Exactly, which is so I think it's genius that he's the one who's been given those powers. And I love how, like, that whole kind of Mark Waid thing about how, like, he feels so guilty that he's basically ruined the lives of his family, you know, because of his arrogance, because of his impatience and his insatiable curiosity. He ruined the lives of the three most important people in his life. And so, like, he's making it up to them by giving them this fantastic life, by giving them these incredible adventures. You know, that's his way of, that's his penance. That's his way of making it up to these three people. And again, there's so many really beautiful things surrounding Reed. So I think that's what makes him my favorite.
Peter, same character, same favorite.
Well, Paul already said a lot about Reed. So, and I agree 100% with everything he said. I was gonna go the same direction, because like Paul said, yeah, it was in the Wade run where he admits he's trying to make up for. I was thinking more along the lines of what he did to Ben Grimm, right? He disfigured his best friend, and then the rest of his life is trying to find the cure, trying to make it up to him. And despite his intelligence, it's still the one thing that he gives. For storyline reasons, of course, he can't solve that one.
And whenever he does, he has to reverse it. Yeah.
yeah, for some to save the world. We need your strength. We need your Rocky form. But since Paul already went with Reed, um, I'm gonna go with the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four, which is Sue.
That's true.
She
She
is
is.
the glue that holds the team together. It's a cliche to say it of the woman in the team, but that's what she is. No? That's she's the glue. She is the mother figure to the entire Marvel superhero, who the other female superheroes turn to when we need advice with child raising or with their husbands, their partners, or just being a just being a superhero. Uh, she's her powers are incredibly for offense and for defense. It's practically you unbeatable. No? And yeah, and a mother to Franklin and Valeria. Uh, yeah, because Paul took my spiel already for Mr. Fantastic. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Sue because she also
Yes.
gets she's not appreciated a lot. And I think everybody's favorite, I'm sure, is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
he's the most popular. Yeah.
Reed and Sue.
When you go into the 70s,
Easily,
um,
he had his own
he had
solo
his own
runs in the
solo.
70s. Yeah.
I'm a My favorite character is Spider-Man. So guess who my favorite Fantastic Four member is?
Johnny?
Of course, of course, it's Johnny.
So it starts.
Of course, it's the Human Torch. Johnny is the Human Torch. Uh, I really like, how Johnny, out of all of them, I feel like he's been the one, and I don't want them to go in this direction with the movie, but I feel like he's been the one who's really leaned into the Fantastic Four being celebrities. That's something that I want them to address, and I want that to be a part of his character in the movies. But I don't. It's not. I don't want that to be the central plot, if that makes sense. But yeah, the thing. I mean, Paul, you've mentioned in another video before that you think he's the heart and soul of the Marvel universe. You want to expound on that?
Yeah, we were talking about Dick Grayson in another video, and how in Injustice, the heroes don't start fighting until Dick Grayson is killed, because Dick Grayson is the one they all defer to more so than Batman, because he's a natural leader and he's friends with them all, and they all respect him. And Ben is the one that everybody respects in the Marvel universe. Everybody likes Ben Grimm. And one of my favorite things about, in the same way as Injustice was swayed by the absence of Dick Grayson, I love how Marvel's Civil War in the comics, Ben deliberately didn't take part in it because he knew whatever side he chose, that would sway loads of people because everyone was waiting to see what's Ben gonna pick, because they respect him so much. So Ben was just like, nope, I'm off to France. You sort it out yourself.
Yeah.
Because he was aware that he had that power within the superhero community and he didn't want it. Which, is a mark of Ben's character. So, and I think it was more Straczynski who came up with that more than Mark Miller, because Mark Miller was writing the Civil War series, and all you really saw in that was Ben turning up at the last minute to help people, which was lovely. But in the Fantastic Four series at the time, Straczynski writes about Ben's reasons for leaving and going to France, and then he had these lovely adventures with superheroes in France then, and it said a lot about Ben's character and his role in the Marvel universe, more so than any other story, I think. So yeah, I think Ben is a hugely important character in the Marvel universe, and I think more than any of the members of the Fantastic Four, the MCU has really felt his absence, because even though he's a monster, he's possibly the most human character in the in the Marvel universe. And when he experiences all these amazing, incredible things in the Marvel universe and all the amazing, incredible things that Reed shows him, you really feel like you're experiencing it through his eyes more than any of the other three, and perhaps more than anyone else in the Marvel universe, because he's the one you identify with, because he's the one who will say, "This is crazy," like, you know, or "What are we doing this for?" You know, or like, "I just want to go home and go to bed," you know, and he's the one who will express the most moral outrage at the bad guys. He's the one who is most disgusted by the villainy and the injustice that's happening before him. So he really makes the most incredible and amazing and out there things in the Marvel universe feel a lot more palatable and easy to digest because we're alongside him experiencing them. So I really think he's been missed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because he's such an important Marvel character.
Yeah, that's the other thing I like about the whole group. The every one of them is important to the rest of the Marvel universe in their own ways. Like Ben hosts their poker nights with other superheroes, beer and poker, and Sue hosts the women for brunch or tea parties or whatever, or ladies' night drinking. And Reed is the science uncle. Everybody, when the other scientists need advice, you're gonna let's call up Reed Richards. Or if the storyline wants to show that I'm gonna outsmart Reed. He's the guy. He's the bard that they want to that the other Iron Man beat Reed at chess, so he's really smart too. Things like that. And Johnny's the friend to the younger ones, no? Spider-Man. So I like that aspect of the whole team, that the way they relate to the rest of the Marvel universe, because they're important figure in the whole Marvel universe, because they're the veterans. They've been in the public eye. Yeah, so they're respected.
Peter, give me a story that you would recommend to a fan if you were to recommend the Fantastic Four.
I guess the obvious one would have to be Galactus, no? But but maybe modern fans would be turned off by Stan Lee dialogue. So I don't know, it's an acquired thing, or just something. Oh yeah, that's how they're all written back. So I'm gonna go with yeah. I'm gonna recommend a trade then. Get the first Wade Wieringo, or get the whole Wade Wieringo omnibus then. Uh, but if you have to choose one, just get the first. Which trade is the one with
with Jack?
Yeah,
The one with Jack.
yeah, the one with Jack. Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be volume 2 or 3 of Wade Wieringo. That's the one I'm gonna recommend. But it builds up from the beginning of Wade Wieringo run, So it's important to see how they got there from Doom wanting to do. I think the name of the storyline was Unthinkable. Well, Doom was really leaning into the mysticism rather than the science part of his character, and all leading all the way up to the death of Ben, and then the quest to go to
Bring him
find
back,
him in
yeah.
heaven and bring him back. That's the one I'd recommend. I'm pretty sure there's an omnibus collection of that. So if you're gonna buy one Fantastic Four trade, spring splash the cash, get the entire way to Ringo.
Paul, you co-sign?
I do, but I'd like to recommend another one.
Go ahead.
Which is actually, I think it's out of print now, but you can get the issues on Comixology. Bear with me for a sec. Okay, so this one, Nobody Gets Out Alive.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
Tom DeFalco and Paul Ryan.
Yeah, it's from a very underrated 90s run by Tom DeFalco and Paul Ryan.
It's from a
And whenever
very maligned 90s run.
yeah, and whenever you
Unfairly maligned. Not
absolutely. Whenever you see people talking about this 90s run, you'll see a picture of Sue Storm with a, cleavage hanging out,
Yeah.
and you'll see them all wearing 90s jackets and holding big guns, and it'll be used as a sort of example of 90s excess. But this run was so much more cleverer than that. It was almost like it used 90s excess
Yeah.
as a sort of storytelling tool to sort of take the Fantastic Four away from, their core status quo, but then sort of used it as a sort of commentary on, like, who they are at their core and how you can do that. You can take them away from that core status quo, but the characters are so strong, they'll remain fundamentally who they are. And it was all sort of go on, sorry.
You know what it tells me when somebody maligns that run using that image of Sue and the jackets and everything? They didn't read that run.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if you read that run, Sue's got her cleavage out for, and this sounds daft, me saying this, but it's a very good in-story reason for her to be dressed like that. And it's a very good in-story reason for Ben, because he's got a horrible mask on at one point because his face has been deformed. But, in the flow of the story, in the context of the story, it all kind of makes sense. And the nice thing about this run, and I'm going to actually tell you the issues because I will urge you to seek them out on Comixology, is issues 387 to 392, this particular arc. And Reed is dead, and they are actually facing off against an unknown foe whose identity may surprise you. And part of the story involves them having to go back and refight one of their greatest battles, the first appearance of Galactus. They have to go back in time and refight that story. And you kind of find out why that story transpired the way it did. And there's all kinds of other weird stuff going on, like Reed and Sue's son, Franklin, has grown up into a teenager for some reason. And
is a member of the cleverly named Fantastic Force.
Yes, yeah, which is quite 90s, I will admit. And
you know what's not quite 90s? You know what's aged particularly well? If you hold that cover back up? For MCU fans, that is Scott Lang.
Yep, Scott Lang plays a big part in this story. And also Reed's dad, Nathaniel Richards, plays a big part in this story as well. And Jonathan Hickman, in his very celebrated run years later, ended up using sort of elements of this story, and Nathaniel in particular, to sort of enhance his run. So it's a really amazing run. And even though Reed's not in it, it's one of those cases where, like, his absence is felt so strongly that it tells you a lot about the character,
Yeah.
So I really recommend this run really, really strongly.
Yeah. And if people go back prior to the prior issues as well, they'll see like a really good arc with the Inhumans, stuff on the moon, the Watchers. It's just a really good run, and I really hate to see it maligned so much just because of obviously reasons that where people did not read the book and just took it as is. It's like taking the image of Superman dressed in black shooting guns and judging the whole death of Superman based on that. You know what I mean? It's anyway. So given that, tell me, Paul, how did you react last Thursday, or was it Wednesday? Earlier this week, when it was announced that the Fantastic Four were entering the MCU.
I lost it, man. I was because I was like just idly scrolling Twitter and these Marvel announcements coming up, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. And then the Fantastic Four tweet came up, and I like woke up my partner. She was next to me in bed. I was like, Jenny, look, it's Fantastic Four. And even though all they'd announced was a director and a logo, it's just the fact that the wheels are in motion, or as Doi corrected me, the Fantastica bathtub is in motion. Yeah.
The Fantastic Car does not have wheels.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But you know, things are in motion, you know, and it's actually happening. And I got ridiculously excited about the last Fantastic Four film too, the Josh Trank one, and it was a bit like you know that Simpsons episode where Lisa sends that roasted pig flying through the air,
Yeah.
and Homer's like, "It's still good, it's still good." And I was kind of like that with that film. You know, the reviews were coming in, and I was kind of like, "Oh, it could still be good. It could still be good." You know? And it started off, and I think the first half of that film is fairly strong.
Oh, first
like,
2/3. I thought the first 2/3 were pretty good, actually.
Yeah. And I was like, this could be good. This could be good. And then the ending was just like, oh no. Yeah. But
It's a better
you know,
movie if you just didn't call it the Fantastic Four. I think.
yeah, this is it, isn't it? Yeah. So I am very much. I know you and Ben, do you call me a mark, don't you, for this kind of thing?
We're all marks for something.
Yeah. So I'm very much signed up and ready to like this, and I have just been waiting for the Fantastic Four and the MCU ever since Iron Man. I think, you know, even though I knew it wasn't possible for years because Fox owned the rights, I just really wanted it to happen. And I've never been able to fully enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy because even though obviously the two Guardians of the Galaxy films are brilliant and all those characters are amazing, there's part of my brain going, this should be the Fantastic Four, you know, exploring these cosmic worlds and these concepts. It's like, and then, you know, I've just been like, oh, it should be the Fantastic Four doing this. So to actually have that happening is just amazing. Yeah.
Peter.
Well, I got news late. I didn't see it real time. I only found out about it when you messaged me. I didn't get it immediately. I think, well, why do you want to talk about Fantastic Four now out of the blue?
I said it was time sensitive, and he's like, "What?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, something's happening. What's going on?" So it went. I had an idea already that okay, it's probably what's happening. Because but I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't want to be like this, but this the last few movies were pretty bad, so it's
Last few Fantastic
I'm not gonna
Four
get
movies?
my Fantastic Four movies,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not gonna get my hopes up for it, but I'm not gonna be crushed if it's bad. Just like they always say, that the comics are still around. I can still enjoy those, even if I don't like the movie. But it, you know, I think the MCU will be better with the Fantastic Four around as part of the whole fabric of the Marvel universe. So, I'm optimistic on that side, on that end. I didn't even know who this director guy was until he's the director of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's the director of the last two Spider-Mans.
The name didn't register with me. Okay, why are people excited? Okay, but believe me, I want this to be good. I want more people to understand why the Fantastic Four are a very good superhero team. So I'd really love for this movie to be to blow everyone's minds, but I'm not gonna get my hopes up. The MCU is bound to have a few stinkers. It's been what is it, 21 movies already? It's all been above average. I just hope it's not this movie. I hope they're not the ones that break the streak.
Yeah, when Fox was announced to be sold to Disney, a lot of people lost their minds because they were like, "Oh, finally we can get the X-Men back." But I was more excited for the Fantastic Four, and the reason for that was because, well,
Everything they bring.
yeah, it's two reasons. Number one, we've seen good X-Men movies. I mean, they're not. I think Logan is great. I think the other X-Men movies are either they're at least fun to watch. Even the worst X-Men movie is at least fun to watch if you're watching it with someone. Uh, but also the other reason is just how they fit into the MCU. And I've always just kind of felt that the X-Men and the Marvel universe, as much as the X-Men are a part of the Marvel universe, they're also not a part of the Marvel universe. They're kind of they kind of
The
have their own
outsiders.
thing, right? They're the outsiders, and I always just found it weird uh that the whole conceit of people hating mutants, um, but not hating like other superheroes. I just found that weird, but they find ways to make it work in the comics. But in that sense, the Fantastic Four to me has always been, in my mind, the more seamless fit to just drop into to just drop back into the MCU. It's everything they bring. We're talking about Galactus, Annihilus, and of course Doctor Doom. What do you guys want to see in this movie? Like, what do you want to see them build up? What kind of tone do you want them to have? Basically, if you were gonna make this movie yourself, what would you want it to be like?
I'm not good at this game now, so
What would
uh,
you want to see? What would you want
I
to
think.
see?
Give me a second. I would like them to be because these are comics that I grew up liking. I'd like them to be the celebrities, the first family of the Marvel universe. I know that ship has probably sailed because they're not the first characters in this universe, but I would like them to be the respected elder statesmen of the Marvel universe, of the Marvel films. I would like them to be the ones, like I explained earlier. Reed is the one they run to when they have a science problem. I would like the tone to be. I would like the movie to focus on them being a family of explorers, of the trailblazers. Again, that ship again has probably sailed because a lot of the things that they were supposed to be the ones to discover, like Wakanda and all these, they've already shown up in the movie. But I'll, 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 I'll let the filmmakers take me on that ride. Let's see. My mind is open to. I desperately want this to be good anyway, so they can go a number of different directions. I'll probably be very receptive to whichever way they take it.
What do you think, Paul?
I want to see. I wanted to push superhero movies forward, in the way that Avengers and Dark Knight and films like that have pushed the genre forward. I want Fantastic Four to push the genre forward, which I will admit is quite a tall order,
Mm, 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 mm.
Pardon me, but I want it to be more Avengers than Ant-Man. And that is no knock on Ant-Man, but Ant-Man it's like a fun entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But Avengers, those films have pushed the story and pushed what superhero films can do forward, and I want Fantastic Four to do that. And I don't know how they would do that, whether it's through storylines or special effects or what. But I just want to see something that'll make audiences go, wow, because anything less isn't worthy of the Fantastic Four. And it's what's been missing from those other Fantastic Four films. And again, that is quite a tall order. And it sounds like a daft thing to say because, of course, you want films to be exceptional when you go and see them. But I want this to be super exceptional. I want it to be fantastic. Yes. and also, I want a really cathartic, satisfying clobbering time. You know, I don't want it just thrown out there because, oh yeah, Ben's got to say it. I want it to come at a moment in the film where all hope is lost, and you think, how are they going to get out of this one? And then Ben's like, it's clobbering time, and you're like, yes, you know, that's what I want from clobbering time. And yeah, that's me.
Do you think it's possible that they're going to save It's Clobbering Time for the third movie like they did with Avengers Assemble?
Oh my God. I don't know if I want that because part of me wants it right now, but the other, like, imagine that moment, you know, the Fantastic Four coming out of the portals, and like Ben's like, it's clobbering time. You know?
In the very first scene.
Who would you want as the villain of the movie?
Doom.
Immediately Doom?
Yeah. But I hate how I don't want him tied to their origin, you know?
Yeah,
and I understand
agreed.
why they do that in the films. But
Yeah.
you know, but I'd rather it not, because it kind of then becomes like the first Fantastic Four film with Ioan Gruffudd and Chris Evans and Chiklis. It was kind of like everything they fought in that film was their fault, which is fine, but it doesn't make any sense why people are then cheering them as heroes. And then in the Josh Trank film, then they're standing around this huge crater, and it's all their fault. And the government are like, "You're heroes. We're going to give you a base." Like, you know, it's like you should be locking them up, you know. So even though I like that sort of level of guilt and blame being on Reed's shoulders, I don't like it when the Fantastic Four, by becoming the Fantastic Four, have created a threat that is worse than what they can combat, kind of thing. So for that reason, I hope Doom isn't tied to their origin, but I do want to see him straight away because he's the greatest villain of all time.
Well, related to that, could we just skip the origin? I think superhero fans are smart enough to enjoy a movie without going through the origins again.
That's a good point.
Do you think that would work?
That's
Just
actually
explain that. Well, cosmic rays. Okay.
We can just sing that 90s theme song in the beginning of the movie.
Would it be nice? Because you've got to introduce them to the Marvel Universe. So just have them pop up in an end credit sequence as a sort of, you know, like, I don't know, Thor creates a load of cosmic rays that bombard the Earth, and he manages to deflect it last second or something. And that's the climax of a Thor film. And then in the post-credit sequence, you see these 4 astronauts then, you know, getting bombarded by them. And so that's the origin. That's out of the way. And then when the Fantastic Four film starts, they just get in the Baxter Building or something, like, you know. And
I'd buy that. That'd be good enough. As long as you don't spend half or 1/3 of the movie on the origin, get straight into the superheroing. Yeah, if you can do that in an end credit scene, perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying one thing that I don't want. There's 2 things I don't want, right? And I might make myself quite unpopular here with the viewers, so apologies in advance. I don't want them to come from the 60s. I don't want the film to be set in the 60s, and I don't want them to have been trapped in a time warp or something like that, because like Peter said, they're pioneers, they're explorers, so they should be pushing things forward. They should be looking towards the future. So the idea of them being from the past is just so against who they are. And it's basically admitting these characters are dated. These characters don't work in a modern context. It's like it's admitting defeat before you've even made the film, if you set it in the 60s or make them from the 60s. So I really strongly don't want them to be from the 60s. I want them to be from the modern period.
You want them to be from the now.
From the now. And the second thing that you see on the internet a lot that I disagree with, loads of people say The Incredibles is the Fantastic Four done right.
Oh no, it's not.
And it's not. Like, it's literally just because they're a family and one of them
Four.
turns into, and there's four of them.
And there's
You
four
know,
of them.
that is literally the only reasons. They've got nothing to
And one
do.
is stretchy.
One is stretchy and one turns invisible. That's it.
And I actually find, and this isn't a particularly original statement, you'll see people saying this across the internet, but I find the message of The Incredibles a bit dodgy, to be honest. I enjoy the films, but, you know, that message of like, you know, oh, leave the ordinary people behind. You know, it's don't pretend to be ordinary. You know, the exceptional people have to lead the way. You know, it's kind of everything people who don't know superheroes accuse superheroes of being. And I think it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? You know, bit too Steve Ditko, isn't it? Like, you know?
That's what I was gonna say. It's objectivist.
Yeah. So, you know, and I still enjoy the films. I'm not slacking them off or anything, but I don't want the Fantastic Four to be like that.
No, I don't want it to be that at all. It's the same thing for me with. Let's put it this way. Everybody wanted in the year 2000. Everybody wanted Patrick Stewart to be Professor X because he was bald and a leader, and that was it. That was it. Other than that, Picard has nothing in common with Professor X. The fact is, James McAvoy is a much better Professor X because Professor X is a nutball. He's creepy and he's manipulative, and that's not who Patrick Stewart is. And it's the same thing with the Fantastic Four. You know, they're a family, but they're a neurotic family. They love each other, but they're messed up. So the fact that they keep on wanting to apply the Incredibles onto that, the Incredibles are not the Fantastic Four. The only thing they have in common is that they have superpowers. One is stretchy, one is strong, and one is invisible. And there's four of them.
Yeah, it's superficial. That's it. You know, it's like a veneer of similarities. Like, yeah.
The truth is that The Incredibles is what the Fantastic Four would have been had it been created by Steve Ditko and not Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I still like The Incredibles, but still. I think I'm going to disagree with you guys. I think Doom is too early. I think we need to build up to Doom. And I think we need to build up to Doom as an endgame level threat.
So not Galactus. Galactus isn't the end game.
See, so here's the thing. I know a lot of people suggest that Galactus should be the next endgame level threat. But Thanos to Galactus is a demotion, isn't it? But with Doom, as much as that is a demotion in terms of power, it's not. It's actually an escalation in terms of the personal connection to the heroes. So he's less of a physical threat and maybe less of an epic threat, but he can really hurt them. And I think that we can really run with that. I would do Galactus for the second movie. I don't really know who I would do for the first one. So I'm going to say Namor. No, I don't know.
Annihilus.
The Frightful Four.
The Frightful Four.
The Wizard and Face Spot Pete. And somehow Medusa is.
No, I think I'm just gonna go with. I would just go with Annihilus as the first one. The first one is a trip to the negative zone. I think that's what I would want because that also gives us the ability to show them that they're explorers. I mean, to show that they're explorers, which is what we want.
That makes sense.
The thing that I really want, and the Marvel movies have kind of failed me on this a couple of times. The thing that I really want is like a visual spectacle, like worthy of Jack Kirby. Because I mean, Paul, you've heard me say this. And I think Peter has heard me say this too. When I went to see Doctor Strange, I wanted a visual spectacle worthy of Steve Ditko, and I didn't really get it. I got Inception Part 2.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I want from a Fantastic Four movie is a visual spectacle worthy of Jack Kirby, even more than Ragnarok was.
Yeah.
Ragnarok was
Like
great, yeah.
it should be a bit like Into the Spider-Verse in that, like
Yes,
we're seeing things in Into the Spider-Verse that we've never seen in any film before.
yes,
That's what it should be like with Fantastic Four.
I agree. I like where you're going with this. Um,
Neymar. Do they have the rights to Neymar already? Is that still
at this point, I assume
that's
Disney
still
has the
stuck
rights
somewhere?
to the world.
Everything. Yeah. Well, that's true. In that case, I would like them to bring in Neymar. Yeah, I would like to do that old the
The love triangle.
seductive Neymar. Yeah. I don't know how they'd fit that in, but that would be. And then you have Atlantis, the whole Atlantis storyline.
But
That, that,
yeah, but
I'd buy
having
that.
said that, I do think that Doom should be introduced right away. He should be in the
Hmm.
movies right away.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think we
Just
build
have
up,
him in the background, the shadow. Yeah,
have him as a supporting
manipulating things.
character,
Mm,
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 as because he's Reed's best friend, right?
yeah.
So
yeah,
is Doom Marvel's greatest villain? Would you say? Even after
yes,
everything, even after Thanos, even after everything, yeah.
yeah, easily. I think you would do a random survey of many comic fans. They'd choose Doom over all the other villains.
Like if you were to sort of create a villain by mixing all the ingredients of the best villains ever into a pot and stir it up, get Doom. You know, he's everything great about every single supervillain distilled into one being. He's the archetypal supervillain. He's
Hmm.
absolutely amazing. I love him.
He's one of the
Yeah,
inspirations for Darth Vader.
is that
Yeah.
so?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
There's a scene in I think the first Star Wars where Vader hosts a banquet for the enemies for the Jedi for Luke and Han, and that's straight out of a Fantastic Four comic from Lee and Kirby. Like
Yeah.
the Fantastic Four show up at Latveria, and Doom has prepared a feast for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna tell you guys something
No,
that
yeah. Hold on. Let me. Well, yeah, that's everything. No? I would like Latveria to be a power in the MCU. I don't know how they introduce it. I don't care, but I want that. Yeah, the, the evil dictator storyline.
yeah,
That's one thing I'd like to see in either Atlantis or Latveria, or preferably both. It's time for those two countries to show up in in the MCU.
I agree. So this is something Lamar said. Lamar wanted to be on this call but couldn't make the call. The Fantastic Four deserves to be at the heart of the MCU. As great as the movies have been up to this point, the absence of the FF, even more so than the X-Men, has given me an empty feeling one often has when something irreplaceable has been lost. For my money, the concept itself is one of the greatest in all of fiction, and the theme of constantly moving forward while maintaining a sense of what came before is both undeniably necessary and endlessly fascinating when placed in the perspective of the world we live in today. I can't wait to go see them smash the walls out of the theater. That's right, theater. Spoken like somebody whose country is going to get a COVID vaccine very soon. Peter and I have to wait, people.
Oh.
2024 or something. I don't know.
That's what they say. But yeah, I completely agree with him. Here's the thing: I've said this whole time that with Iron Man and Captain America gone, and Chris Hemsworth as Thor moving more to the side, um, that they should pass the mantle. It will be interesting to see the mantle passed to the other three, which were the Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel. But obviously, one of them is no longer around. rest in peace. What would you feel like if they positioned the Fantastic Four as the main thing leading up to like an Avengers Endgame level movie moving forward?
Yeah, that would be perfect, you know, because they have to be front and center. They're the Fantastic Four, you know. They're the stars of the world's greatest comic magazine, you know.
Exactly.
And
That would be great if they do that. It's too much pressure, but
put
nah.
put them in
Too
the
much pressure to
center.
put on you, but yes, that's what I would like. I would like that a lot.
And you guys also mentioned that, you know, they have all of these roles in the Marvel universe. So one other thing that I think I would like to see is just have them just let like one of them have randomly guest star in some other movies. Just like have Johnny show up in Spider-Man's movies. Have Reed
Yes,
show up in
yes,
Ant-Man.
Yeah, they need some
yes.
science advice, so they go to Reed, you know.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
they're all at Ben's poker game at the start of the film or
yes.
something, you know. It's yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be a great reveal, you know? They're having poker, and then you pull back. Who's the host?
It's
Oh,
great.
it's Ben. Oh shit.
Like, you know, Ben and Doctor Strange and Scott Lang are taking it really seriously, and they've got Peter Parker there and he doesn't really know how to play it, you know, because he's so young. Like, you know.
That is comic inaccurate, Paul. He's actually a really good poker player.
Oh, right, okay.
Why is
Yeah,
that so?
that's
I didn't know
does it. He's
that.
like the newbie, but he keeps winning.
Oh, it's a hustle. Then it's a
Yeah.
hustle.
Yeah, there's a Paul Jenkins issue of Spectacular Spider-Man. The heroes are playing poker, and the Kingpin joins them. And at the end, it's just Spider-Man and the Kingpin left. And the Kingpin is like, "Ha! I have a full house." No, wait. Spider-Man's like, "I have two pairs." And then Kingpin's like, "Ha! I have a full house. You lose." And he goes, "Yes, I have a pair of nines and another pair of nines." Oops, four of a kind.
I'm not 100% sure, but there's a British sitcom called Only Fools and Horses. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but
No.
that is the punchline of a very famous episode where the characters play poker. So, yeah, I've got two pairs, one pair of this and another pair of this. And yeah, so I wonder if Paul Jenkins, who of course is a Brit, I wonder if he nicked it from that.
I'm going to say he probably did.
Yeah.
I've heard of the sitcom, but I haven't watched it only because the one of the actors is like a big Tottenham Hotspur fan. So
Oh, there we go.
I only know him through my Spurs fandom.
Oh, cool.
And when he died recently, right, a few years ago, and all the Tottenham groups I'm in, tribute to this guy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I want to get back to something Paul said about the Fantastic Four coming from the 60s or being set in the 60s. That is a popular internet opinion. You have, I think, a proposal by Alex Ross even that made the rounds a couple of years ago where he said they should be set in the 60s. Uh, why do you think that opinion is so popular?
I think it's because I think it comes from a good place. It comes from people wanting the Fantastic Four to be the first family. You know,
Mhm.
they want retroactively everything to come from the Fantastic Four, which I can understand. You know, because the Fantastic Four being like one of the first people in the Marvel universe, but you know, I just think that ship has sailed with the MCU. And trying to crowbar them back into Marvel history, I just don't think it's going to work. And there's other ways to make them important, especially now, as you pointed out, we are in this stage of handing the baton on. So you know, now's the perfect time to insert them to pioneer a new era instead of trying to force them into the last era, which has kind of gone anyway. You know.
Yeah, for Peter, I've heard you say before that like you did mention earlier that you wanted them to be the elder statesmen. You
Yes,
think there's
yes.
a way to do it, even if they debut them in the modern day?
Yeah, I suppose you could have. They sort of retconned Ant-Man, right? That Hank Pym had been a
Yeah,
scientist all a shield scientist since the 60s or
since the
70s.
'60s. Yeah,
So there's ways to do it. I'm sure they could figure it out. The easy one would be they got lost in the negative zone and time flows differently there, or something like that. Uh, and then they come back. But yeah, I don't know how they'd work it out. But oh well, we're still celebrities now that even though we've been gone for so long, we're still the respected elder statesmen of the Marvel universe. Um, yeah, that's my personal preference. I don't know how they'd work it though, but um, surely there are screenwriters smart enough to 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 put it all together somehow. Even if make them modern, but make them the elder statesmen.
I
There,
think
there
the
must be a
way
way.
I think the way I would do it is just have them be insanely good at their job
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
everybody just respects them. I think we hold on a little bit as fans. We hold on a little bit to when people debuted, like
Mm.
um, like even me. Uh, I would prefer Spider-Man to be older because I don't really want him to be the rookie. But it works perfectly
Mm.
for the MCU. I don't. It's just my preference that he's what in his mid 20s and jobless. but
Mm.
but
Mm.
he works perfectly, and people love him as high school Peter.
Yeah.
Also, like Captain Marvel has been retconned as what the second superhero in the MCU, like 20, 22 movies in. So I think the only thing that's a hard and fast rule for me is that Captain America should be set in the 40s, and that's it.
Mm.
Everyone else is mutable, and it the MCU is just a different version, and it's an alternate reality of the characters that we know, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Talk to
Yeah.
me
I'm, I'm,
about
I'm not, uh,
yeah.
I'm not gonna boycott the movie because it's set in 2021, 2024. uh,
And
it's
likewise, if they put it in the 60s, I'm not going to be
yeah.
like, that's it. I'm not watching it.
Throw all the toys out.
Throw everything that we said.
My comic.
So talk to me about uh who you want to see cast in the movie.
Um,
Good, Paul.
you know, the problem with well, it's not a problem, but like the interesting thing about like the first Fantastic Four film is that it was really well cast. Like Chris
Yes, it
Evans
was. Yes,
and
it
Michael
was.
Chiklis were amazing.
I
They
think they
were
all were, all four of them. Like I
yeah,
wouldn't turn that cast down.
and of course Johan Griffith. He's a local boy, isn't he? He was born in
Mm-hmm.
Aberdeen and grew up in Cardiff, so round
Yeah.
my way, you know. And he's apparently, I don't know if this is true, but a friend of a friend is really good mates with him,
Mm.
and apparently he loved being Mr. Fantastic. He really, really enjoyed it, and he was disappointed when more films didn't happen. So, you know, get him back.
He's got that look, though.
He
and,
does.
and
He has the look. He has the look
and
for it.
sadly, we can't get Chris Evans for good
Sure,
reason.
Or can we?
Oh, can we? I don't know. I know maybe he's a bit too old to play Johnny now,
Mm.
But
Mm.
we could get CGI Chickless,
You can't get Michael B. Jordan either. By the way.
Yes, unfortunately, because obviously he was great as Johnny as well. But you could get Chickless, but this time CGI him rather than stick him in a suit. Because I did like the suit with Chickless, but it kind of gave the whole thing a bit of more of a TV movie here, didn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas I think CGI has got so good now, whereas they can make him look really good as a CGI creation. But assuming they don't get them back, I really liked your suggestion the other day, Dave. I think it was you who said Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone as Sue and Reed. I love that. Blew my mind because
I would love it. I don't think
yeah.
they'd work together anymore, but I
Because
would love
they
it
split up, didn't
because they
they?
split up. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why their chemistry is so good in Amazing Spider-Man 2, because they were together, weren't they?
the only good thing about Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes, sadly, that's true. But
And
I
the
mean,
web swinging. The web swinging is really good in that movie.
yeah.
Okay, but yeah.
To at least get Emma Stone as Sue, because I love Emma Stone. I think
Really? Because so like I have two fan casts for Reed and Sue. One is John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, and that's because I love Emily Blunt, and I think she would make either a great Sue Storm or a great Jessica Drew. And if she is Sue Storm, then I don't have to think about who she has chemistry with. That's John Krasinski, who can play Mr. Fantastic. But with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, the key for me there is actually Andrew Garfield. So it's interesting that you mentioned Emma Stone.
Well, I just love Emma Stone. I think she's just one of the best actors around at the moment, and I like so many of the films she's in. I loved Birdman and that tennis one she did. That was brilliant, and she's in a Paul McCartney video as well, which
She is.
she's very good in that. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah,
Okay.
And yeah, I just love everything she's in. And so seeing her, and obviously she was one of the, like you said, she was one of the best things about Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Amazing Spider-Man. So seeing her in the MCU would be fantastic. And I think Sue would be a great character for her to play.
I agree. And I think I would like to see Andrew Garfield as Reed Richards, just because Andrew Garfield and Grant Gustin remind me of each other. Except I think Andrew Garfield is infinitely more talented. And then we can get that whole who's smarter, Reed Richards or Barry Allen thing, and the obvious answer there will be Reed Richards. Peter, you have a particular fan cast for Reed and Sue?
No, I was thinking about this, and I know I'm really bad at this fan casting game. You know? That's something I've never really. It's not a thing I've been getting into, you know. But so I'm trying to think of four actors who already have built-in chemistry, and then, like I said, my preference is for an older batch of for the FF to be older. So I'm thinking of actors in a particular age range. I was thinking, so who four people who work together? Well, I could think of three. So for the male characters, I'm gonna go with Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, Martin Short, and and then maybe Diane Keaton. I don't know. Dewey, are you familiar with this movie I'm referencing? Except for Diane Keaton.
No.
Three Amigos.
Yeah, I feel like I should
joke
be.
is falling flat because
I feel like I should be.
yeah, Paul got it.
So you want the Fantastic Four to be the Three Amigos?
yeah, I couldn't think of any. The other thing was, or maybe you get Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. The other guy's dead now. Rick Moranis is dead.
Yeah.
and Sigourney Weaver as Sue Storm.
To be fair, when she was younger, Sigourney Weaver would be amazing as Sue. She would have been
right?
But I don't know. Maybe she's too old now. I don't know.
There's a big age gap. There's a I don't know, like an unspecified age gap between Reed and Johnny. That I really don't know how that's gonna work, but I think you're locked into Johnny's age because Johnny Storm has to be the same age as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Or slightly older. So whoever you cast as Johnny Storm, I would never be able to answer that question because I have no idea who the young actors are now.
Yeah, same,
The
same.
Spider-Man
That's why I
movies
couldn't think of
are
any.
the Spider-Man movies are my source for who the young actors are now.
It's like when you know, everyone was complaining about Michael B. Jordan as John. Basically, all the racists were complaining about Michael B. Jordan and as Johnny Storm, and they were saying like, "Oh, we want someone like exactly like he is in the comics. You know, we want someone, white and all this." And it's like, well, if you're going strictly comics accurate, white, pampered, spoiled, and a young celebrity. Basically, you want Justin Bieber as Human Torch. So careful what you wish for. But I think that's how kind of
That's
you
true.
can imagine Johnny being a bit like that. Sort of like. A sort of like a kind of Justin Bieber figure, getting into fights in restaurants and having a little bum fluff mustache, and yeah.
I can actually imagine Justin Bieber being like, "Oh, I have a red costume now."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That's right. I'm the only one. I'm the only one with a red
How
costume.
about then? You're going that way. How about Justin Timberlake?
I am now
Well,
splitting off from the
Reed.
rest of my group. Um, does Ben
I
Grimm?
don't know. I'm not good at the fan casting games.
Okay, so what about Ben Grimm? Does he need to be in his human form, which we're not going to see much of? He's going to be in CGI most of the time. Does he need to be a big, bulky guy, or can you just pretty much cast anyone and then have him voice Ben Grimm?
On the one hand, I like the idea of casting someone, someone like I can imagine someone like Ving Rhames or someone like playing him.
Mm.
But on the other
Mm.
hand, I sort of, as a sort of tribute to Kirby, because he is the Marvel character who's the most like
Yeah.
Kirby.
Yes.
Getting
Yeah.
someone quite Kirby-like to play him, like I don't know who that would be, but sort of short, tough guy kind of,
Mm.
character.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true. That's true. I don't know
Right,
either.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Short, tough Jewish guy who smokes a cigar.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't know who fits that sort of mold in Hollywood at the moment, like, but
Yeah,
yeah.
the three of us clearly don't watch enough movies for me to continue with this. But I'm going to ask one more question. What about Doom?
Yeah, earlier on we said that like the original Fantastic Four films were well cast, but what's his name, Julian McMahon? I don't think he was
Yeah.
No,
No.
no.
particularly well cast, and yeah, it's like why would you get a guy who, because he obviously insisted contractually that he have his face exposed for most of the film, because in the
Obviously, yeah.
second film there's absolutely no like my face is cured for some reason, like so I don't know, why would you sign up to play Doom, and make that sort of stipulation in your contract, because like he's one of the most famous disfigured characters ever. Like, who could it be? I don't know.
I know it's tough. It's got to be somebody who has a command of a room, and
Yeah,
also somebody who wouldn't mind having his face covered.
yeah, yeah. Oh, he was already Red Skull.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
the only other guy I can think of has already
Yeah.
been the Red Skull, and he hated it. So
It's already been V, and the Red Skull.
And the Red Skull.
Oh, Willem Dafoe. Oh, yeah, Willem Dafoe. Good. Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a bit too old now if we're going to make him a contemporary of Reed.
That's true. He's also
Yeah.
he's also in Aquaman.
Oh, of course, yeah, he is. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Nobody remembers though. People only. I don't mind.
There are DC movies.
Don't say that to Paul, Peter.
No. I just watched. I just finished watching Justice League.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah.
I just watched it recently. I
Yeah.
can't even remember the story anymore.
Oh my God. Now we're digressing. Anything else we want to say about the Fantastic Four, guys?
Well, like I said, I really want this to be good. I desperately want it to be a movie that will turn people into Fantastic Four fans.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves the X-Men and the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four is like the old corny. I don't know. That's my impression of how people see it. And that's just old comics. But
You know, a
there's
big
so
part of
much to
it
like about it.
is Reed's hair, I think. Like
Why
they
don't they
see
mind it when Green Lantern has that kind of
they
hair?
did.
Is that
That's why
is
they
that a
got rid of
problem?
it. That's why they got rid of it. But I think that's a big part of it is because they see Reed Richards and then they're like, and let's be honest, he's wearing a blue jumpsuit. So
Yeah.
they see it and then they're like, and then like Paul said, like, right, the power's kind of silly. He
Mm,
stretches. So like, why should we take this seriously? Like, you have to actually read the book to realize that he's one of the most dangerous people
mm,
and one of the most screwed up people alive
yeah.
in order to actually get it. Here's a little bit of trivia for you guys. So apparently, so this isn't hard and fast throughout the entire years of Fantastic Four publishing history. Like, there's been times that you can get away with that, you've gotten away with it, an editor has overlooked it. But apparently, it's an unwritten rule that Reed Richards does not stretch from the neck
Wow.
because it's undignified.
Sorry.
He's too dignified a character to be stretching for the neck. And if you look through your Fantastic Four comics throughout history, you will very, very rarely see an image of Reed Richards stretching from the neck. He's usually stretching from the torso.
Mm,
I
you're
didn't know that.
absolutely
I'm pretty
right.
sure I've seen a neck stretch, but maybe it's very rare.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine that's the kind of thing that John Byrne stuck strictly to. Like, you know, I can imagine John Byrne getting very angry at other artists who make him stretch from the neck, you know?
So George Perez, when he got to doing Fantastic Four, it was one of his earliest assignments. And he admits he wasn't good at it. Like, there was, I think he dressed up Johnny as a cowboy for some reason. But apparently he drew Reed stretching from the neck, and then whoever the editor was told him never to do that again. But that got published anyway. The other time I remember him stretching from the neck is some Christmas cover by Will Sportacio in Heroes Reborn, which was not under Marvel editorial. So I think it's very, very rare. I think it's very rare that you'll see him stretching from the neck. It's actually just really interesting. It's just a small character detail that that kind of adds to his character. You'll see him stretching from the torso.
Yeah.
Way
Always.
more. Yeah. But every other stretchy character that's ever been invented, they all stretch from the neck, right? Plastic Man, Elongated Man.
Because they play these guys as comedy characters.
And Reed Richards is not. Reed Richards is just is maybe the most serious Marvel character you're going to run across. All right,
Pretty sure there's an image. There's a at least one panel in that Ringo drew him as a funny funny character. I'll have to look it up, but Ringo got away with that. I think if there was one artist who did it, Ringo probably made some goofy read scenes, and they still work in the context of the comic.
I know the panel you mean, because he's nursing Valeria. He's got Valeria in front of him. She's like a little
Yes,
baby.
yes,
And he
yes,
puffs his cheeks out and makes his hair stand on end to like,
yes.
and it actually looks terrifying.
But it's meant to look like a cartoon.
Yeah. And then there's another issue as well, in the Tom DeFalco and Paul Ryan run, where he turns his body into the shape of a dinosaur, and he's got a long neck bit, and Franklin's riding on his back. So actually, I think that's really sweet that the only time you see him and dignified
with his
pose
children.
for his
He's
kids.
with his children. That's
Yeah.
really smart.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic Four. Any other thoughts? Any closing thoughts, guys, for FF? I just want to say we keep mentioning the Mark Waid, Mike Waringo run. Mike Waringo was immensely underrated. And if the only reason that anybody watching this is going to hunt down the Fantastic Four Mark Waid, Mike Waringo run is to see the art of Mike Waringo, you're in for a treat, because that guy was immensely underrated, and we'll never see more comics made by Mike Waringo. So buy his back catalog, guys. He's incredible. It's same with Paul Ryan,
Yeah.
who left us a few years ago as well. Just one of the most solid artists I've ever seen. Not too flashy, did the job, did it perfectly. Yeah.
Well, I guess the last thing I want to add is I'm gonna temper my expectations. I'd like it to be good, like I said, but my expectations are I've lowered my expectations for it. But you know, the comics will always be there. So whether it's a good movie or not, I prefer much prefer it to be a good movie. But if it's not, it's okay. MCU's got a lot of good movies, and then you can just go back to reading the comics.
Well, for me, like I said at the start with Star Trek Voyager, if it's a terrible movie, I'm just gonna like hanging around with the four of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's just gonna be, I'm just gonna enjoy being in their company because they're great.
yeah.
You know what else I realized? So you guys mentioned this earlier. The Fantastic Four was made in the 60s. The most powerful member is a woman, and they discover Wakanda. The Fantastic Four is one of the most progressive comics that's ever existed.
Yeah.
And the movies should reflect that. It's actually a perfect time. The 2020s is actually going to be a perfect time for that.
Absolutely. Their time has come.
Their time has
Okay.
come.
Yes.
Everything in its own time, right?
Yes.
So we're all looking forward to the Fantastic Four movie. I am.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Maybe
yeah.
cinemas will be open by that time it gets here.
I've always found it, as weird as it is, I've always found the Marvel movies where I'm least familiar with the characters to be the most satisfying, not counting the Avengers movies because that's different. But like Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Thor, because I was unfamiliar with all those characters before. Like I loved them partly because for me it was also like discovering characters that I was familiar with, but I wasn't too familiar with. Unlike, for example, Spider-Man Homecoming, where I was like, it's good. It's not my Spider-Man though, but it's good. Yeah, so I am really looking forward to Fantastic Four. So everybody tell us what you're thinking about the new Fantastic Four movie, what you want to see in it, who maybe fan casts and everything. And if you read either of the trades that these guys recommended, let us know in the comments. Please click like, share, and subscribe, and the little bell button so you get a notification whenever we have a new video up. Thank you, everyone.